All right, last one. So in set D, again, we want to take a look at the line segments that are being drawn in each of these triangles and think about what are those line segments called? So that's the first question. Now we want to trace over our triangle just as we've done every time. So we got A, B, C. And then I also want to trace over the line segment that I've drawn inside the triangle. Notice the markings. And then when I drag this triangle over here and put it on top of itself, any new line that appears, I want to draw that one as well. Two lines crossing, no biggie. And one last time. Oh my God, look at that. It's so neat. Ew. So again, 3 lines cross each other, which is just so wild. Again, it's wild because like these are specific lines. Like I have to draw them in a specific way. Like why should they all cross at the same spot? It just doesn't make sense. It's so cool. And so we're going to call this point where they intersect point Z. But again, these lines are different than all the rest that we've drawn so far. And so because these lines are different, it made a different point. And so this point we're going to call the centroid. So the centroid, why do you think it's called the centroid? We're actually going to talk more about that later. So what we want to do now is we want to label the midpoint of BC. So from B to C, we want to label this midpoint right here as point W. So that's another hint if you weren't sure what these lines were called. Take a second sheet of patty paper and trace ZW. So I'm going to put this on top here. I'm going to trace out from Z to W. Slide your patty paper and compare the length of ZW to AZ. So AZ is right here. If I just put Z on top of A like that, if I'm comparing this length to AZ, you got to think about how they might compare to one another. So another way to think of it too is maybe I could do where I trace out AZ as well and think about folding this. So if I were to fold Z onto itself like this, and again, I know it's kind of hard to see, but what do you think might be the relationship between this shorter line and the whole line? Where does it look like W is? Repeat this process for the other two medians. I'm not going to do that. I think you're fine. Does your observation hold true? It does. Make a good guess. Make markings. We don't need to do that. Conjecture. Last one. The centroid of a triangle divides each median, hint, into 2 segments, right? So AW is our median. It divided it into 2 segments so that the shorter one is what compared to the longer one? Make a good guess. It's okay if it's wrong.